All right, people, welcome to CRJ230, Criminal Procedure and Evidence, Focus on Evidence. What I do in this course is provide a guide. This is a guide. This isn't a lecture, it's a guide. And this is your guide for week one of this course. If you haven't completed the reading assignment, you need to stop now, go to the course site, find the reading assignment in the form for week one, and complete that. You need to do that before you come to listen to or watch these guides. Now, I produce these guides both in video and audio format. I post the video on YouTube. You can obviously listen to it from YouTube as well, but then I also use Podbean, which publishes the audio file to anywhere you can find podcasts pretty much, but I link both for each week to the course site. So you don't have to go very far. You don't have to search for it. But if for some reason you're out there away from the course site and you want to listen just from your phone or whatever device, Google, try to find it. It's out there on podcast and on YouTube. So either one, audio file, and I believe also the audio file appears once I publish it from Podbean. The audio file shows up on YouTube as well. So it's everywhere. No excuse not to listen. But again, this is a guide. It's not a lecture. It's not an opportunity for you to sponge and listen only. You have to do the reading assignment. This week, the reading assignment is pretty easy. But each week hereafter, I give you something you need to read. For those of you who don't know me, like you, I took this course. Like you, I was an ICC student. Back in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan was the president. I bounced around to a few different majors before I found what was at the time police science and the law. And it was my passion. So I earned a degree in police science here at ICC. I transferred to Bradley to enroll in their Administration of Criminal Justice degree program, and I graduated eventually with that degree. I played basketball here at ICC. I intended to go to Bradley as a walk-on, or went to Bradley as a walk-on. The coach was fired. The new coach came in not until the first day of the semester, and he didn't want me or another kid who was a walk-on. So I stayed at Bradley, pretty dejected, but I turned 21 shortly thereafter, and I had worked as a cadet in what's now campus police, but it was then the Department of Public Safety at Illinois Central College. And Chief Bob Walker needed somebody to work third shift on weekends, and so he hired me and swore me in, and that was my first raise your right hand and take an oath position. It was a great position because the pay was pretty decent. The hours were not ideal, but it was great for being a college student, and it actually ended up where I got to work a lot more than just my weekends, so it helped minimize my debt. So blessed in that regard. I moved to the Chicago area to continue in a law enforcement path, but intending to go to law school. Doc Wright, who started all of our public service programs, what's now law enforcement, criminal justice, paralegal, all of those programs, and the police training center. Doc was a police officer who became a lawyer, and he was kind of my idol, I guess. He was definitely my mentor, and I loved the law aspects of my courses, and so he guided me towards law school, primarily with the intent of a graduate degree. And at the time, the FBI was hiring people who had law degrees, and that was my ultimate goal. I had the offer, but it didn't quite work out that I took the offer, and that's a story for another time. But that was my goal. Uh, as a senior law student, you can be sworn in or to work under the supervision of a lawyer and do actual lawyer work. And I was able to do that for the Illinois Attorney General's office doing criminal appeals. I did some other things, work for some great people. The dean of my law school is a research assistant, Gil Johnston, who taught me a lot about writing and research and civil procedure for those of you that had me for that class. But I did that. I stayed with the AG's office a little bit and then went to Peoria, or came back to Peoria to practice law with a civil law firm, litigation firm, small firm. I did that for a while. Among the things that I did, I represented the two largest police unions in the area, but mainly did litigation trial work. Became a partner there, and then along the way, Doc Wright was going to retire. John Wyatt, who's now since retired, had joined the faculty. He was also from the same background, and John was teaching criminal justice courses, but also then coordinating the paralegal program, directing that program. So I came on to direct the paralegal program and taught in both programs, and been doing that since. That was 1996. So you do the math and add it up. Since that time, I have many graduates out there. In fact, some of which, especially in the law enforcement area, have now retired or going to retire soon. But lots of graduates, lots of people that you can look to that have had success in our programs. They have success because when they were students, they did the things that we asked them to do. Not the least of which was to prepare, to do things to the best of their ability, to do things on time, and to take ownership over their own education. Now, many of you have experience with me in other classes. All of you have experience in online courses at this point in history. You know that by enrolling in an online course, you're required to participate in certain things. Traditional course in the old days would be 3 hours in the classroom and then 3 or so hours outside of the classroom. And those expectations don't change. You still have to put in that time in order to get what you intend to get out of that course. In the online setting, you need to participate in some way outside the classroom. In some way, you have to arrange your time, keep a schedule, keep a calendar, and stick to it. And tell yourself, I am going to log in on these days at these times. Now, I suggest that you put all of the deadlines for this and every other course in a calendar for the whole semester. Do it now. Get it done this week. The deadlines in my class don't change. Get those deadlines in the class. On my syllabus, I lay out week by week what topic we're going to cover, what the assignments are. Get that in your calendar. Get that in your calendar for all of your other courses. It's just what you need to do. After that point, make sure you go back to your calendar every day. Plan on logging into the course at least 5 days a week. On some days, you won't have much to read. There won't be many new posts from other students. On other days, there might be. But you go and you look and you make sure that you don't have anything new to do. Put in the time and effort. Now, regarding this week's assignment, And again, this is a guide, okay? If you didn't read what I asked you to read, it's not going to be easy for you to do what you need to do. And that's every week, every course. You can't sponge off what I'm going to talk about here on this particular podcast or video or any other. It's a guide. It's to supplement. I give you pointed things, very focused things regarding that week's topic. Now, regarding this week's assignment, the focus is to get you to see and appreciate that we have rules of evidence. We have rules of evidence both at the federal and the state level. For the most part, those rules are consistent, though there are some differences. So the first objective this week is to foster an appreciation of the development of the rules. Those rules primarily come from English common law. And then in common law, for those of you that don't know, court-made law. Those rules then had a subsequent evolution to specific rules in the United States. Federal rules came first. Illinois' rules are fairly recent, although day by day older. That's your first task, to check out those rules. And it involves you looking at differences and unique things within both, but just to be familiar with the Illinois and federal rules of evidence. Your next task, and this is going to be something that's going to be consistent week after week, is to locate a recent Illinois case that summarizes or refers to those rules. Now, this is a fairly easy one because it's just a case that refers to the Illinois or federal rules of evidence. Now, it needs to be an Illinois criminal case. And each of you is responsible for finding and summarizing a different case. You can't use the same one. And what students typically do is they claim a case. They find a case and they post that on the course site in the forum. I'm claiming this case with the citation to the case. And then everybody else should know. If they don't go and check, then that's on them. But they can't use that case. You've claimed that case. And then you come back after you write your summary of that case and you post your summary. Now, your summary needs to be in your own words. It needs to include a really good summary of the facts of the case, especially the facts that relate to the issue in the case. Let me emphasize again, in your own words, no cut and paste. I'll know it's a cut and paste because I've read court cases for well over 30 years. And it's obvious. And if I have to point that out to you, it'll be obvious. So don't do that. Summarize it in your own words. The objective there is that you take ownership of that. You process it. You put in the effort to understand what the case is about, what the facts are, how the facts relate to the issue, and why the court decided what it decided. The other objective here is one that we'll expand upon all semester long, the recognition that the rules are not inflexibly static. In fact, those rules evolve with society, technology, application from the courts. They evolve on a daily basis. And you're going to see that as we go throughout the semester, especially when we get into the various areas of evidence. Through your reading and research, you'll begin to understand evidence rules applied by the courts in a real world context. And that's the goal. We don't just read about something and then, think we have a good understanding of it. You need to know how to apply these things in real life situations. And by seeing a spectrum of cases with different facts each week and reading what your fellow classmates post, you're going to get a good sampling of the things you're going to encounter in your career. This is knowledge all of you will need over your lifetime or your chosen careers. And it's here that you should begin to understand how a witness who presents the evidence fits into the overall trial procedure. That's a role that many of you will play in real life cases one day. You have a personal incentive to learn and understand these rules. You'll begin to develop a general understanding of the reasons for these rules and the procedures established to implement the rules. Of the main objectives and concepts I hope you would recognize this week is a general understanding that evidence is presented at trial and then reviewed on appeal. In other words, no additional or new evidence can be presented on appeal. We're going to focus on Illinois cases, and Illinois trial court cases are not reported. The only cases that you're going to find and report back about are appellate cases to one of the 5 appellate districts in Illinois or to the Supreme Court of Illinois. So the importance of how we gather, maintain, present, and argue for and against evidence being admitted or excluded at trial, the level that you will actually participate in, we have to emphasize that. And this is going to be a theme you're going to hear me offer time and time and time again. The importance of how we gather evidence, how we document evidence, how we maintain evidence, how we keep it secure, how we present or argue it at trial. We're going to talk about that over and over again. The general rule is that if evidence is not introduced or made an issue at the trial, it can't be considered on appeal. So we really work to gather that evidence, to document that evidence, to keep it safe and secure, and to present it at trial in accordance with the law. Because if we don't, we lose it forever. Forever lose the ability to have that evidence considered. So with that in mind, I need you to do all the things that I asked you to do before beginning this week's assignment, and then listen to this, watch this, do it once, twice, whatever you need to get a good understanding about what your assignment is before you go about the assignment. On the case law part, put in the time. If you put in the time, and it's going to be difficult the first few weeks to find a case for some of you, it'll get easier. But if you put in the time to find the case, and if you put in the time to write in your own words a good summary of the case, meaning that you've read that case once, twice, probably 3 times to really understand it, you're going to do great. You're going to retain it, and you're going to do great. And if you come back and you read what the other students have posted and their examples, and if they put in that same amount of effort, it's just going to build. It's an investment in you. And it's an investment in you that's going to pay off, especially in this area of the law, for a long, long, long time. That's what we got going for this week, week 1. I look forward to having you in the class. I hope you enjoy the class. I think you will enjoy the class. And I know that if this is your intended career, that whatever time you put into this, it won't be wasted, not by any means.